Welcome all once again in this video. So we are going to discuss about the digestive system of the prawn. So the digestive system of the prawn basically divided into two parts. First part is the alimentary canal and the second part is the associated digestive gland, that is the hepatopancreas. So alimentary canal can be divided into three parts: foregut, midgut and hindgut. Foregut comprises mouth, buccal cavity, esophagus and stomach, these parts, and midgut comprises intestinal part, and hindgut which is having the rectum. So the overall alimentary canal of the prawn divisible into three parts: foregut, midgut and hindgut. Foregut having the parts like mouth, buccal cavity, esophagus, stomach, and midgut having intestine, and hindgut comprises the rectum. So before starting to see this digestive system, we must know the food and feeding method about the prawn. So the prawn feeds mainly on algae, moss, then aquatic weeds, some debris or aquatic weeds. It occasionally feeds on small aquatic animals also, such as insects, snails, tadpoles, fish and debris of the bottom. Generally, prawn feeds at the time of night, and with the help of particular type of chelate, forceps like legs, with the help of chelate legs, these, and by the third maxillipeds, the prawn can capture and convey food to the mouth. With the help of chelate legs and the third maxillipeds appendages, they can capture and convey food to the mouth, and cocci of second maxillipeds hold the food, while incisor process of mandibles cut the food molecules into smaller pieces, and then it is swallowed with the help of maxillipeds, maxillae and maxillae. When this food comes into the buccal cavity, they are having molar process of mandibles. With the help of that molar process of mandibles, the mastication of the food takes place, and then that food then lead into the esophagus or comes into the esophagus, and in that esophagus, with the help of the peristaltic activity of the esophagus, then that food can goes towards the cardiac stomach, and afterward the digestion of the food is started in the stomach. So when we see the alimentary canal or the digestive system of this animal prawn, the first part of the digestive system, that is called as the mouth. First part or the opening of the digestive system, that is called as the mouth. This mouth is a large slit-like aperture lying mid-ventrally below the anterior end of the head. It is bounded in front by the shield-like plate that is called as fleshy labrum, and laterally this mouth cavity is bounded by plate-like incisor process of mandibles, and behind or posteriorly this mouth cavity is bounded by bilobed labium. So labrum, incisor process of mandibles, labrum, incisor process of mandibles, and labrium can useful to cover the mouth cavity. Then this mouth cavity open or lead into the buccal cavity. Mouth then lead into the buccal cavity. This buccal cavity is a anterior posteriorly compressed and thick cuticular lining, which is irregularly folded internally, and there is having the molar process of mandibles in that particular type of buccal cavity, and this molar process of mandibles of the buccal cavity useful to crush the food between them. Then next part, that is the buccal cavity, lead into a tube-like structure that is called as esophagus. This esophagus is a short tubular structure and internally having thick muscular wall and thrown into 4 prominent longitudinal folds. When we see the TS of this esophagus, we can found that they are having 4 longitudinal folds like this. One fold is the like that. So here is having 4 longitudinal folds. One fold is called as anterior fold, second fold is called as posterior fold, and there is having 2 lateral folds, longitudinal folds. There is having one anterior, one posterior, and 2 lateral. Longitudinal folds are found internally into this esophagus. Then this esophagus leads into the stomach. The stomach comprises 2 parts, having divided into 2 parts. One larger part of the stomach is called as cardiac stomach, and second small part, that is called as pyloric stomach. So the stomach can occupy most of the cephalothoracic area. Cephalothoracic cavity is most of the part of the cephalothoracic cavity is comprises by this or occupied by this stomach. And associated with this stomach, there is having particular gland that is called as hepatopancreas. So we will discuss about hepatopancreas in next point. So the cardiac stomach and pyloric stomach, these are the 2 parts of the stomach. The stomach is divisible in 2 parts. One part is called as cardiac stomach and second part is called as a pyloric stomach. Cardiac stomach, this is the larger part, and when we see the inner lining of this cardiac stomach, there is having a cuticular lining or also called as intima. Inner side of the cardiac stomach having cuticular lining or the intima, and inner there is having longitudinal folds. Internally there is having longitudinal folds covered by minute blisters. The wall of the stomach is supported by some circular plates. The wall of the stomach can be supported by some circular plates. That is, here are having some plates, like first towards the anterior side there is having the circular plate. Anterior wall of esophagus, towards the anterior side of the esophagus there is having a particular plate. That plate is called as circular plate, and behind it there is having on the roof of the cardiac stomach there is having lanceolate plate. This is second plate, circular plate. Then there is having a lanceolate plate, and also towards the mid-ventral floor of cardiac stomach there is having another plate that is called a hasted plate. So when we see the cardiac stomach, on that wall of cardiac stomach there is having 3 types of plates: circular plate, lanceolate plate, and hasted plate. These 3 plates are found on the stomach, and this hasted plate having delicate CT or small blister like apertures, and this blister like apertures, due to which these plates looks like a comb shaped comb like structure. So sometimes this is called as combed plate, and 2 combed plates are then united towards the anterior side. So then internally having the rigid plates and forming a comb like structure. Then this cardiac stomach leads into the pyloric stomach, and the cardiac stomach opens into the pyloric stomach by aperture, and that aperture is called as cardiopyloric aperture. This cardiopyloric aperture is again guarded by valves. Cardiopyloric aperture is a narrow X-shaped aperture, and this aperture is guarded by 4 valves, that is anterior valve, posterior valve, and 2 lateral valves. Cardiopyloric aperture is guarded by 4 valves, that is anterior valve, posterior valve, and 2 lateral valves. Then this cardiac stomach opened into the pyloric stomach. That is the food material which comes into the cardiac stomach then leads into the pyloric stomach. This pyloric stomach is a small and narrow chamber comparatively. This is small chamber, a narrow chamber, and internal there is having the lateral walls are having the lateral walls of the pyloric stomachs are muscular, thick, and folded inwardly. Again, the cavity of the pyloric stomach divided into 2 parts, one larger part and one smaller part. The larger part, big part, is called as ventral chamber, and small part is called as dorsal chamber. On On the floor of this pyloric stomach there is a particular type of plate that is called as pyloric filter plate, and this pyloric filter plate together with there is having the filters, and with the help of this pyloric filter plate, with the help of this pyloric filtering apparatus only can liquid food pass through it, and the filtration of the food material takes place with the help of this pyloric filtering apparatus. Then when we see the pyloric stomach, the area of the pyloric stomach, there is an opening. The opening of this is opening of hepatopancreatic duct. So there is the paired opening of the hepatopancreatic ducts is also found behind the filtering apparatus. Behind the filtering apparatus there is a paired opening. On this opening of the hepatopancreas, opening of the hepatopancreas or hepatopancreatic ducts, and this opening is also guarded by elongated CT. Then this pyloric stomach leads into the next chamber, and the next chamber is called as midgut. This midgut or also called as intestine. It is a long, narrow, straight tube running back along the median line, and the its lumen is wider at the anterior side but reduces when goes towards the posterior side, and internally having longitudinal folds. Then this midgut then leads into the last part of the alimentary canal, that is called as hindgut or also called as rectum. This hindgut or rectum is a shorter portion in which in this rectum the undigested material is stored, and finally the undigested material is then thrown outside of the body with the help of the anus, which is situated at the base of the tailsa. Then about the digestive gland, here only one digestive gland is called as hepatopancreas. This hepatopancreas is a large, bilobed, dense and orange glandular structure, and this gland can fills nearly the cephalothoracic cavity is filled by this gland. Then this gland is made by three types of cells, that is granular cells, ferment cells and hepatic cells. Hepatopancreas gland having three types of cells, that is first granular cells, second ferment cells and third hepatic cells. The material which is produced in this hepatopancreas, that is having the enzymes, and that enzymes then comes into this pyloric stomach or open into this, there is an opening in the pyloric stomach. So the material or the enzymes which is produced into the hepatopancreas comes to the pyloric stomach with the help of the pyloric duct. This hepatopancreas having digestive enzymes, and with the help of that enzymes the digestion of the carbohydrate, proteins and fats takes place. Secondarily, the hepatopancreas is also a storage work as a storage organ, because number of glycogen, fats and calciums, this material glycogen, fat and calcium is stored in the hepatopancreas. So this is important storage organ for the prawn. So with the help of this hepatopancreatic enzymes, the digestion of this food material which comes into the stomach takes place, and the material which is digested, then the semi-liquid and semi-digested food is filtered with the help of the bristled combed plates, and finally the undigested material comes into the rectum. The food in this food undigested material, from that in the undigested material some of the water is reabsorbed again, and the remaining material then thrown outside of the body with the help of the anus. This is about the digestive system and digestion of the prawn.